It was the familiar notification sound on my phone that caught my attention. The package I had been eagerly waiting for had finally arrived, a top-of-the-line gaming headset that I had been saving for months. I ran to the window, expecting to see the typical Amazon box on my balcony, but there was nothing there. Weird. The app clearly said, "Delivered at 2:32 p.m. I decided to check the footage from the security camera I had recently installed. I rewound the recording, and there it was, the delivery guy dropping off the package. But only 3 minutes later, a female figure crept up, looked around quickly, and grabbed my package. I froze the frame. It was Samantha, my neighbor from number 47, and a board member of the Alameda Imperial Condominium, one of the most influential residents in our fancy gated community. That woman just stole my $400 package, I muttered to myself, feeling my blood boil. It couldn't be. A 45-year-old woman, owner of a BMW 7 Series who kept bragging about her trips to Europe, was stealing neighbors' packages. The next morning, I knocked on her door. Samantha answered with a rehearsed smile, wearing a branded gym outfit as if she'd just come back from the workout. "Samantha, yesterday my Amazon package was delivered, and then disappeared minutes later. My camera caught you taking it." Her smile turned into a look of over-the-top indignation. "What do you mean? Are you accusing me of stealing? I'm sure you're confusing me with someone else. I'm an executive director. Why would I steal a package?" I showed her the video on my phone. "It's clearly you here." She barely glanced at the screen. "That could be anyone, and honestly, that accusation is defamatory. You do know I'm on the board, right? I can easily file a formal complaint against you for harassment." I went back home, my hands trembling with anger. I decided to post in the condominium's WhatsApp group, without naming names, asking if anyone else had seen packages disappear. The response was surprising. Over 20 neighbors reported the same problem in recent months. A neighbor from Block C wrote, "A birthday present from my daughter disappeared last week." Another resident commented, "I lost 2 expensive books last month, and I thought it was just a mistake by the carrier." I needed to prove that Samantha was responsible. I called my friend Christopher, who works with electronics. "Chris, I need your help catching a package thief." 2 hours later, Christopher showed up with a small device in his hand. "It's a GPS tracker. We're going to put it in a fake Amazon box and monitor it on my phone." We carefully prepared an empty box with the Amazon logo, placed the tracker inside, and set it on my balcony. We went back inside and waited. It wasn't long before we saw on the monitor Samantha approaching, glancing around quickly, and snatching the package. Immediately, the tracker app showed the point moving toward her house. "Bingo!" Christopher exclaimed. "Now we have solid proof." The tracker showed that her package stayed at her place for 30 minutes before being moved to the trash outside. A careless thief. "This isn't enough," I told Christopher. "She's going to deny it again. We need something bigger, something more dramatic." That's when Christopher had an idea. His cousin was a beekeeper and could get us a small nest of temporarily sedated wasps. "Is it safe?" I asked. "They're paper wasps, not as aggressive as other species. They only attack if disturbed. Perfect for someone opening a package that isn't theirs." The next day, we set the trap. We prepared an Amazon box with care, rigging it with the wasp nest, lightly sedated, tucked inside and protected by a thin layer of paper that would tear easily when the box was opened. We placed it on the balcony and waited. Just like clockwork, Samantha showed up. This time we recorded everything, including her taking the package to her house. 20 minutes later, we heard screams. Samantha's screams echoed throughout the condominium. From a second-floor window, I saw the commotion. She ran out of the house, gesticulating frantically as wasps flew around her. Some neighbors came out to see what was happening. She was jumping and thrashing in the perfectly kept garden. "Help! Wasps! Someone call the fire department!" she shouted as she tried to shoo the insects away. Within minutes, a fire truck and a police cruiser pulled up in front of her house. The firefighters, suited up in protective gear, entered to control the situation while paramedics treated Samantha, who was showing off the welts on her arms and face for anyone to see. "It was an attack. Someone put wasps in my house on purpose," she was yelling at the police. An officer approached and asked how the wasps ended up inside her house. I don't know. They just showed up while I was organizing my stuff," she stammered. I saw when the officer found the torn-up Amazon box on the living room floor, visible through the open door. He examined it curiously, and then jotted something down in his notebook. Christopher, who was watching along with me, gave a small smile. She'll never admit that she opened a package that wasn't hers. After the chaos, a small crowd of neighbors remained on the sidewalk, discussing the incident. I took the opportunity to casually approach one of the firefighters as he headed back to his truck. "What happened?" I asked. Apparently, the lady opened a package that had a wasp nest inside. Strange situation. I noticed Mrs. Peterson, an elderly woman who lived 2 houses down, staring at me. She slowly came over after the firefighter walked away. "You had something to do with this, didn't you?" she whispered with a knowing smile. "Last week I lost my prescription that was delivered. I've been suspicious of her for a long time." I just smiled in response and went back home. That night, I slept peacefully, thinking that Samantha had learned her lesson. How naive of me. The next morning, I found my car with all 4 tires punctured and an anonymous note on the windshield. "I know it was you. This is just the beginning." The handwriting was unmistakable, the same ornate style Samantha used in the condominium board's notices. 2 days later, I received a notification from the management. There was a formal complaint against me for disturbing behavior and the irregular installation of electronic equipment, a clear reference to my security camera. The document was signed by 3 board members, including Samantha. I was summoned to a preliminary meeting with the manager, Mr. Martinez, who seemed uncomfortable with the situation. "Look, I don't want to take sides, but Samantha is determined. She says that you've been causing problems by filming private property without consent. She also mentioned that you falsely accused her of stealing. I have video evidence, Mr. Martinez. She's stolen multiple packages, not just mine." He adjusted his glasses, visibly uneasy. "I understand, but she has a lot of influence on the board. Maybe it would be better to calm things down." I left the meeting seething. The following week, my mailbox was vandalized. Then someone, and we all knew who, spread rumors that I was spying on neighbors with hidden cameras. Some moms started avoiding walking past my house with their kids. Christopher came over for dinner that Friday and found me down. "She's winning, Chris. I've become the villain of the condominium." He served up more lasagna and looked me straight in the eyes. "No, man. This is just the beginning. If she wants war, we'll give her a war to remember." That night, we planned something bigger. Much, much bigger. Christopher had a friend who worked with special effects for theater productions. We managed to get our hands on a glitter cannon mechanism, those devices used at the end of shows that shoot small pieces of metallic paper into the air. We modified the mechanism to be activated when the lid of a box was opened. "Is it going to be loud?" I asked, worried. "A small pop, nothing that sounds dangerous. More of a pop than a bang," he explained while adjusting the device. "But the best part is coming." Christopher pulled out a small Bluetooth speaker with a built-in recorder from his backpack. "We're going to record a message that will play when the device is triggered. And, for the final touch," he held up a small bottle. "Stink spray. The kind used in pranks. It's non-toxic, but that rotten egg smell lasts for hours, even after several washes." We worked meticulously. The box looked perfectly normal on the outside. The Amazon logo, shipping labels with my name and address, standard packing tape. Inside, it was an engineering masterpiece of revenge. The glitter cannon mechanism connected to the speaker and spray bottle, all set to go off simultaneously when the lid was lifted. I carefully recorded the message. "Surprise, Samantha. This is package number 37 that you stole from your neighbors. Yes, we're keeping count. The whole condominium is watching. The glitter now covering your living room is just a sparkling reminder of your actions. Oh, and don't worry about the smell. It will go away, eventually." The timing had to be perfect. We found out from the WhatsApp group that there would be a board meeting the following evening at Samantha's house. She loved showing off her high-end decor to the other board members. In the morning, I placed the box on my balcony and waited. As usual, Samantha showed up around 10 a.m. when most people were already off to work. This time she was wearing sunglasses and a hat, a pathetic attempt at a disguise. She grabbed the box and left quickly. Christopher and I waited strategically in his car, parked discreetly with a view of Samantha's house. We didn't have to wait long. It was obvious she would open the package right away to see if it was worth keeping or tossing. 20 minutes after the theft, we heard an understated pop, followed by something I'll never forget. Samantha's long, furious scream, plus the recorded message blaring loud enough to be heard from the street. "Ah! What is this? My hair! My clothes!" From the living room window, we could see the glitter shimmering in the air, reflecting the sunlight streaming through the sheer curtains. Samantha appeared at the window, covered in glitter from head to toe, trying to brush off the tiny sparkling pieces clinging to her hair and face. The smell must have been unbearable because she had one hand over her nose, while the other tried, in vain, to wipe herself clean. The message kept looping. "The whole condominium is watching. The whole condominium is watching. Some neighbors who were home came out to see what was going on. Samantha quickly closed the curtains, but the damage was done. Glitter is practically impossible to completely remove. It would be on her furniture, clothes, and carpets for months. Mission accomplished, Christopher asked with a smile. Not yet, I replied. There's still the cherry on top. That evening, the board meeting was set for 7 p.m. at Samantha's house. At 6:30 p.m., we drove by and saw some members already arriving. We pictured her in a desperate hurry trying to clean off the glitter and get rid of the smell in just a few hours. Impossible. At 7:15 p.m., we got the message we'd been expecting. Mrs. Peterson, our elderly ally who was also on the board, sent us a note. Meeting moved to the emergency community hall. Samantha claimed a plumbing problem. I'm smelling victory, and rotten eggs on her coat. The meeting in the community hall had an air of confusion and discomfort. I watched from a distance outside through the glass doors. Samantha arrived late, trying to maintain her composure. Even from afar, it was impossible not to notice the glitter remnants sparkling in her hair and in the folds of her once impeccable outfit. Now not so much. She tried disguising it with a scarf around her neck and heavy makeup, but nothing could completely hide those glittery flecks. What was even more noticeable was how the other board members kept a subtle but palpable distance from Samantha. Some discreetly covered their noses when she passed by. The rotten egg smell, even hours later, still hung around her like a corona. Every time she moved, tiny glitter particles fell about her like a perverse version of a fairy godmother. The plan was working, but I felt we needed one final blow to really expose Samantha in front of everyone. That's when I got an idea. I quickly sent a message to Mrs. Peterson. Could you propose a discussion about the recent package thefts in the condominium? 20 minutes later, I saw Mrs. Peterson raise her hand to speak from the hall's window. The manager nodded, and she stood, leaning on her cane. I'd like to bring to the board's attention a growing problem in our community. Several residents, including myself, have had packages disappear in recent months. I proposed the installation of additional cameras in the common areas. I saw Samantha's face go pale under her makeup. She immediately objected. I think you're exaggerating. They're probably just carrier mix-ups. Additional cameras would be an unnecessary expense and an invasion of privacy. That's when Christopher sprang into action. We had prepared a flash drive with all the evidence. Videos from the security camera showing Samantha stealing not just my packages, but those of several neighbors. The GPS tracker's route. Photos of her leaving my balcony with my gaming headset. He entered the community hall and asked for permission to speak. Good evening, everyone. I'm Christopher from Block D. Sorry to interrupt, but I have some important information about this matter. The manager, somewhat surprised, allowed him to continue. Christopher plugged the flash drive into the laptop connected to the projector that was being used for the annual budget presentation. In the last 3 months, we've gathered evidence that one resident has systematically stolen packages from various neighbors. The room fell silent. Samantha stood up, outraged, scattering more glitter around. This is defamation! I demand this presentation be stopped immediately! Mr. Mendoza, the board's president, adjusted his glasses. Samantha, please, let the gentleman continue. If these accusations are false, you'll have an opportunity to respond. Christopher began his presentation. On the screen, clear and unmistakable footage showed Samantha sneaking up to different balconies, glancing around, and grabbing packages that weren't hers. The dates were visible in the bottom corner of the footage. Murmurs spread throughout the room. Samantha, realizing she was cornered, tried one last tactic. These videos have clearly been manipulated. He works with technology. He could have easily altered the videos. This is harassment. Christopher continued calmly. We also have the GPS record showing a package that was placed on the balcony of apartment 32 ended up inside Mrs. Samantha's residence before being thrown in the trash. On the screen, a map of the condominium appeared with the red dot from the tracker following exactly that route. And finally, he added, we have the original receipts from several residents whose packages disappeared, all with delivery confirmations. This includes high-value items like a $400 gaming headset from the resident of apartment 32, controlled medications from Mrs. Peterson, and even birthday presents for children. The atmosphere in the room completely changed. Disapproving looks were now fixed on Samantha. She, still covered in glitter and exuding that foul odor, seemed to wither in her seat. As a final blow, Mrs. Peterson pulled a small plastic bag from her pocket. By the way, I found this in the community trash last week when my grandson was taking out the garbage. She opened the bag, revealing torn pieces of a prescription label. It's part of the packaging for my blood pressure medication that disappeared. Interestingly, it was in the same trash bag as letters addressed to apartment 47. Samantha's apartment. Mr. Mendoza stood up, his face serious. Samantha, in light of this evidence, we have a serious matter to discuss. Theft is a crime, regardless of the item's value. As a board, we need to consider not only internal sanctions per our regulations, but also the possibility of referring this matter to the appropriate authorities. Samantha finally lost it. You can't do this. I've been on this board for 5 years. I organized all the Christmas events. My husband is a corporate lawyer. He was a lawyer, Mrs. Peterson interjected discreetly. Since the divorce last year, he moved to Seattle. The ensuing silence was heartbreaking. Everyone there finally seemed to understand. Samantha wasn't the successful socialite she pretended to be. The divorce had probably hurt her finances, but her pride wouldn't let her show any sign of difficulty. Instead of adjusting her lifestyle, she chose to keep up appearances at everyone else's expense. I'm going to leave this meeting, Samantha finally said, her voice choked. I'm not feeling well. She got up, leaving a trail of glitter on the community hall's carpet, and quickly exited through the side door. No one tried to stop her. The meeting continued, this time focused on how to deal with the situation. It was unanimously decided that Samantha would be immediately removed from the board and face a hefty fine for violating internal regulations. As for legal measures, that would be left up to each affected resident. The next morning, the entire condominium was buzzing about what had happened. The WhatsApp group never stopped blowing up. Some messages expressed outrage, others offered support to the victims, and many thanked us for exposing the truth. A week later, I watched from my window as a moving company loaded up Samantha's belongings. She supervised the process from a distance, sitting in her BMW with sunglasses covering half her face. When the last piece of furniture was loaded onto the truck, she finally got out of the car to do a final inspection of the empty apartment. It was then that I noticed something shimmering in her hair. Stubborn glitter remnants that just wouldn't wash out completely. A permanent reminder that actions have consequences. Christopher came to visit that afternoon, bringing a bottle of wine for a celebration. What a story to tell, he said as we poured glasses on the balcony. The same balcony that had witnessed so many package thefts. I never imagined it would come to this, I confessed. But I must admit, it was satisfying to see justice done. To justice, then, he toasted. We clinked glasses as we watched the new resident of apartment 47 receive their first package. The delivery guy left the box on the balcony and went on his way. The box stayed there, safe, until its rightful owner came home and picked it up. At that moment, I felt a strange sense of peace. Balance had been restored in our little condominium universe. The natural order of things was back. People order products. Delivery guys drop off packages, and packages reach their proper destinations. Christopher noticed I was lost in thought. What are you thinking about? I'm thinking that sometimes we have to create our own system of justice when the usual channels fail. It's not ideal, but it was necessary. He nodded thoughtfully. Do you think she learned her lesson? I took a sip of wine before replying. Hard to say. People like Samantha rarely admit their mistakes, but I'm sure she'll think twice before taking something that isn't hers. That night, I received a notification on my phone. My new gaming headset, the replacement for the one that was stolen, had just been delivered. I calmly walked down to the balcony and picked up the package. I opened it carefully, enjoying the simple pleasure of finally receiving something I paid for, a basic right that, until a few weeks ago, felt uncertain in our condominium. The doorbell rang. It was Mrs. Peterson, smiling kindly. I just came by to say thank you. My medication arrived today, and for the first time in months, it didn't disappear. Not at all, I replied sincerely. I just did what anyone would do. No, she shook her head. Anyone would complain, resign, or change their habits. You took action, and for that, all of us are thankful. As she slowly walked away, leaning on her cane, I realized that our little war against Samantha had created something unexpected, a stronger sense of community among the residents. Sometimes a common enemy is what brings people together. And what about me? Well, let's just say my reputation in the condominium changed dramatically. From a quiet, reserved resident, I had become some sort of unofficial guardian. People waved, stopped to chat, and shared their stories. Life went on. New residents arrived, others left. But the legend of the package thief and the glitter bomb lived on in elevator chats and social gatherings. A story to remind everyone that even in the fanciest condominiums, justice finds a way, sometimes in the form of glitter and the stench of rotten eggs.